Watching the world outside and it just can't reach me now. A light high in the endless skies. I'm over the city lights and my feet won't touch the ground. And my feet won't touch the ground. Now I'm solo. Never thought I could feel solo. Never knew how low you could go. So where are you, where are you? Where are you, where are you? Breathing this air while I can. 'Cause it feels like every day I'm drowning. Close my eyes and pray I can fly. Got me falling from the highest mountain. And I can't swim without a float. And you keep pushing me down under. Now I'm touching the ocean floor. I was right by your side when you needed me the most. Where are you now? I don't feel you. Caught in the tidal wave, pulling me underneath. Feels like I'm blind, I don't see you. Now I'm solo. Never thought I could feel solo. Never knew how low you could go. So where are you, where are you? Where are you, where are you? Yeah, I'm solo. Take my time while I can. 'Cause if I rush, I know I'll end up regretting. Just like quicksand, I keep sinking deeper in. And it feels like this battle's never ending. And I can't swim without a float. And you keep pushing me down under. Now I'm touching the ocean floor. I was right by your side when you needed me the most. Where are you now? I don't feel you. Caught in the tidal wave, pulling me underneath. Feels like I'm blind, I don't see you. I'm solo. Never thought I could feel solo. Never knew how low you could go. So where are you, where are you? Where are you, where are you? I'm solo. Never thought I could feel solo. Never knew how low you could go. So where are you, where are you? Where are you, where are you? Yeah, I'm solo. Yeah, I'm solo. Yeah, I'm solo. Never thought I could feel solo. Never knew how low you could go. So where are you, where are you? Where are you, where are you? Yeah, I'm solo. Yeah, I'm solo. Nobody like you. Nobody like you. Nobody like you. No, nobody like
What's up, Generation Orange family?
You want to try that again?
Sorry, man. What's up, Generation Orange family? I'm Mark,
Oh, great.
co-host for today, your host for today, alongside my co-host Sean Ringrose. What's up, Sean? Everything all right, man?
I can't complain. Can't complain. Wish it was a little cooler, but you know, it's
man,
cooler.
Tell me about it, man. Tell me about it. I've been sweating out here. I'm on vacation, man, but vacation is never really vacation when you stay at home and they got stuff for you to do at home. So
you got the honeydew list, sir.
That to-do list got a little longer once I said I was gonna stay home for a week and a half.
Yeah, you invited it. That's what happened.
That's what happened, right? But anyways, man, we had a busy week with the Dynamo. A lot of Dynamo news this past week, man. With a lot of a couple of transfers, a couple of rumors, and all that good stuff, and a couple of new signings that I think we're excited about as far as the fan base. But before we get to that, you know, obviously we have a poll question of the week. We try to have it up before the show for a couple hours to get the perspective of the fans out there and try to see, you know, what y'all thinking and how, you know, what's going on with everything. So the poll question of the week for this week was obviously with the two new signings, Lassiter and Sahibo, which one of those two do you think will have the biggest impact this season for the Dynamo? And with 79% of the vote, I went with the Frenchman. Go for Zabino.
Oh.
Hebo, sorry.
Zahibo.
So what's your opinion, Sean?
I think I agree. I really do. And the reason for that is how long have we heard the Dynamo say, you know, vocally many times, you know, what we really need is that player that's that pivot point between the defense and the attack, a guy that has that physicality in the middle of the field, strengthen the, you know, the spine of the team, if you will. You know, Vera has been very good in that position, But at times he's been left on an island by himself. I believe that really Tab wants to play a 4-2-3-1, kind of shifting. It's still kind of a 4-3-3, really, if you think about it, but a little different. I need more orange on them walls. Yeah, you missed the lack of orange by like 1 week. Mark just got those scarves up, so he over here smiling because he's like, "Oh, look, I'm getting called out for good things." I'm like, "No, you ain't. Just
Hey
shut up."
man,
I
progress
used
here.
to have a bookshelf behind me, but it doesn't quite fit in the room. I'm actually going to rearrange my desk here either this week or next week. So there's a wall over here where I can actually put that bookshelf. So there will be plenty of orange stuff up there. Trust me, I got the whole box full of the crap that I haven't even unloaded yet from my old apartment. But
No,
back
but I
to
mean,
Go ahead. I was going to say back to
yeah,
Zahibo real quick. What I was going to talk about with him, they've talked about how they've wanted that position and that person that's that pivot point, that person that can distribute the ball upfield. And one of the things that I've seen fans of the Revolution talk about on Twitter has been his distribution, how surprised at how good his distribution was out of the middle of the pitch. And that is very good. That's what you want to hear out of a guy who's being slotted in as a defensive mid. And then again, Tab's kind of hinted at, and I think we've kind of seen it, that really now he wants to play more of a 4-2-3-1, which I think still fits this team. I do have questions when I look at a 4-2-3-1 with this team as to how do we line up specifically in terms of the attack, because somebody is getting left off that attack that really should be there. Absolutely, George. Zahibo is Ricardo Clark in a nutshell. Yeah, he's a French Clark, if you will, a Ricardo Clark. But the other thing that he brings to this team that we haven't had in a while, and I've mentioned this multiple times, how certain players coming in have helped that. But we have not had an aerial presence on set pieces in eons, it feels like. And one thing Zahibo is known for is his ability to win aerial duels and his ability on set pieces to at least provide options. And so that excites me right there, because how many times have we been late and won a set piece and we already knew the match was basically over because it's a set piece, and we know if the ball's in the box, even on a set piece, we're extremely unlikely to get anything out of it. So having a guy that's an aerial presence, it's another defender that gets pulled onto him instead of being on Morrow, or instead of being on Elise, or instead of being on Memo, instead of being on Quintero, whoever it is. It frees one of those extra exactly. It frees one of those extra. Frees up one of those extra attackers to be able to create an opportunity and have a shot maybe at the goal.
I think I got to agree with you as far as what the fans are saying. Obviously, our defense was where we kind of lagged a little bit. Our offense wasn't so much. I mean, I know that we had a little bit of a drought scoring wise, as far as from Morrow and things of that nature. But yeah, man, I think he's gonna have the most impact sooner rather than later. I mean, obviously, if let's say Sitter comes in, Lassiter. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my pronunciation today. Lassiter comes in today. Huh?
So yeah. You need more beer.
I think I do, man. I would have a pint or two right now. But obviously, if Lassiter comes in and starts scoring goals off right off the bat, I'm not gonna be, troubled by that. Obviously, I don't think anybody would. But man, I think I have to agree with the majority vote here as far as the Zahibo probably being the one who distributes sooner rather than later. But going on from that, man, obviously we got 2 new players on the squad. We're gonna spend some time to talk a little bit about them, get to know them a little bit, and obviously know their backgrounds. And obviously the one of the guys who we talked about last week in Lassiter, we went through a little bit with him, but we're gonna go back and touch bases on him. Obviously because he's come into, some people think, to replace either one of Elise or Model, depending if they get sold. Or some people think that he's coming here to kind of give more competition, to kind of add more firepower. Because I mean, you can never have enough goals in any league. More goals, the merrier. So if you bring in another attacker another scorer that can score more goals for the team, I mean, I think that's a positive in any light that you put it. What do you think, Sean? What's your opinion on Ariel?
I think Ariel's going to provide, something that I expect we'll probably lose this offseason, which is either going to be Elise or Morrow. Lassiter can, slot into multiple positions along the front, and I think he has enough attacking capability to cover for that. We'll see, I suppose, but
I mean, before we got on the show, I was going through some Twitter stuff and all that stuff, and I saw something pop up that another Portuguese team actually come in and try to actually looking at least, and which is not, obviously not unusual at this time and point. Obviously, he's one of those players that that's getting a lot of European eyes looked at him, and obviously because he's about to end his contract and he's going to be a player on a free. So in this climate and this economy, soccer clubs are looking for any low risk, high reward type of player, and at least can be that, depending on who gets his hands on him and who can, obviously elevate his game. But going back to Ariel, I mean, obviously we know what he's done for LA Galaxy too, scoring about, I think 30 some odd goals with them, when he was with them in their USL team. And then obviously all the hype because of what he's done in the Costa Rican league and a really tough league, obviously in this region, because aside from the Liga MX and MLS, the Costa Rican league is kind of like that third tier, that third place league in this country. Obviously they got powerhouses like Saprissa and all that stuff and that we know about. And obviously we've faced in the international tournaments and they've been involved in a lot of international tournaments. And Ariel's team was in the finals last season for them. And he did really well with them in all competitions. I think he scored 20 plus goals and 10 plus assists in all competitions. So I mean, that's some really good numbers for a player like him. Obviously it shows that he can not only score, but he also provides, or sets up goals for his teammates. So which is a good look.
No, I agree. He's again, he's a player that is not dead set on just being the scorer. He's content to. You noticed an unselfish player who's fine with distributing and sharing the ball, but he's capable of setting himself up. He's capable of setting up other players. The one thing I noticed in watching some of the videos as well is that he has a specific move set. He reminds me a lot, honestly, of Albert Elise. Just maybe not quite as speedy as Albert Elise, but in terms of Adiel Lassiter, correct. It is. He's torturing you today, man. But he's that type of player that I think you put out there and you put on the pitch, expecting him to, knowing that he's going to make a specific move. My concern with him at MLS level is once defenders see his move, kind of like they have with Albert Elise, you don't really he's going to have to progress past that one move, offense. He's going to have to figure out, which in my opinion is one thing that Elise hasn't done, which is figure out how to progress past that one move to attempt to beat defenders. Now, defenders still get beat on occasion, but more and more frequently we're seeing Elise either lose possession or get beat by defenders because they know exactly what he's going to do or have a pretty good idea of what he's going to do. So I think Lassiter's kind of the same way, but we'll see.
I mean, one of the things that I've noticed on as far as like the highlight reels and, obviously all the videos of him scoring goals and stuff like that is that, he's not scared to shoot from the outside. And I think, one of the things that I think maybe you and me both can agree on as far as Elise goes, that he tries to push the ball way too deep to the point where, he's already in ambushed by the goalie or another defender is able to come help along the line, and the fact that you're going to have two options, obviously with Mauro, hopefully if they do play together, that are not scared to shoot from the outside. And obviously we know what Memo can do from outside the box, and Quintero isn't afraid to shoot either. So when you can sneak up on defenders and teams like that and shoot from anywhere on the pitch outside the box, gives you a little bit of a more of a huge attacking prowess, because a lot of defenders, a lot of teams don't expect you to do it as much, and now that you have 3 or 4 players that are willing to do it and able to do it and score from that distance, it's a good look for the attack squad as well. So I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, obviously he's played, he obviously plays center forward for the team, for his team in Costa Rica, and I mean, I think he also plays in the left as well, left mid or a little bit of left winger as well. So I mean, obviously you can slide him in over there in the left and maybe have Quintero as a 10, and obviously if Elise is still there, Elise would be on the right. But obviously that would kind of if you go with the 4-2-3-1 formation that you spoke about earlier, Sean, obviously that kind of pushes Memo out because you would think you put Zahibo alongside Vera, and that defensive mid spot right next to him. So we'll see, man. I mean, but obviously the more choices available for the coach, the better. It creates more competition, and we'll see what happens, man. I mean, I don't think this is the last move the Dynamo do, to be honest. I mean, it might be another player leaving, or it might be another player coming in. Who knows? It was done early in the transfer window, so I don't know if they're trying to get a head start and trying to get as many of the players that they want in, so they can go out and start the season on a bang instead of how they started with the first start of the regular season and then with this MLS's back tournament, how they started with that. I think they're trying to get it right this time. Third time is a charm.
I'll say one of the things that is probably not going to get talked about very much, but Lassiter has played in Tab's system before. He actually played for the U17s back in 2015, the U.S. men's national team U17s. So he has experience with Tab's system. He has experience really with not just Tab, but Omen Nemesi as well, who was part of that system at the same time. So there's a connection there, and that, I think, again, it points to what we're seeing more and more of, which is that Tab's connections are paying off. We see it with Ian Hoffman, but there's a secondary connection there, which is what really caught my attention. Ariel Lassiter actually played under Paul Holliker when he played his college ball. So we're talking a few years back, and so that just caught my attention. I was like, Paul Holliker, that's kind of out of the blue I didn't realize there was a kind of a connection between Paul Holliker and ultimately now Tab Ramos in that way either. But it just shows that, there is those are two individuals who've had an impact on Lassiter's long-term development. And now he's coming to a team where, Tab is here and Omen Nemesi is here and Paul Holliker's here. Now, Paul is not going to have an impact on him at this point because he's well past the academy stage, but the impact that Ariel can have here to the Dynamo Academy is also and cannot be overstated enough. It is one of the situations where Lassiter could feasibly have a long-term opportunity here as he grows with the team to be able to be able to mentor some of the younger players at the academy level. And look, that's what is needed. Somebody who's willing to take those academy players under his wing and say, look, here's my path to the pros. Here's how I did all of this. Here's where I went and what I had to do. I had to put in all this hard work. And look, my dad, yeah, he's Roy Lassiter, but at the same time, I still had to earn my place every step of the way. Nothing was given to me. I had to earn it. Obviously he's done well. He went all up to the U23 levels with the United States, and then before he switched to the Costa Rican U23s, and now he's a full-fledged international with Costa Rica, having played I think 6 or 7 games with them. So and he's still young, man, 25 years old. Obviously that youth movement is still intact with these signings. One being 25, the other one being 26. And I think it's great to have that kind of competition in here, especially from somebody who's done really well in his league, and he did really well in the Costa Rican League last year. So I think he comes in here with full of confidence. And let's not forget that when his time during LA Galaxy, he wasn't really given a fair shake because the two players in front of him were obviously the beast Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and Olar Kamara was there. So two pretty good strikers who are in front of him. So he wasn't really given his fair shake per se to really make the squad and have an impact on that squad. So hopefully he comes in here with a chip on his shoulder, showing that he is on par with the quality or maybe above par with the quality of MLS strikers, and it shows his worth, And then, obviously we got him on a loan to buy. And I'm pretty sure if he does really well and he shows out here, that loan to buy we'll go out there and buy him off of his Costa Rican team. But man, I'm excited to see him play, man. I'm excited to see how it goes because like I said, obviously the highlight reel that I've seen,
is only going to show his good, the positive things he's done. But from the positive things that I've seen, I mean, I like the way he moves. I like his quickness. He's quick on his feet, and then he's able to see the pitch really good. Has good vision, which is really good for a striker. Obviously he wouldn't have the assist numbers he had if he didn't have good vision. So I'm looking forward to see what he looks like aside next to Mauro or whoever's up there in front of him with the Dynamo and all that good stuff. So.
And George brings up another good point. It is a loan with an option to buy at the end of the season. The advantage there is A, we're getting him for dirt cheap. And then B, that option to buy, if he does perform well, then certainly that number is going to go up. And that's okay, because if he's performing well, then you go ahead and spend the money because the player is going to fit in your system. He fits in what you want to do. But if the player is struggling, if Lassiter comes in here and he's just not doing, what he needs to do, then at that point you kind of look at it and you go, okay, we can get the player for cheaper, or is it a player that we're really willing to spend that money on? So it provides options. And if you look at kind of what is happening at the end of 2020, the majority of our players are going to be option players. They're players that their contracts are basically up, and we have the option to renew their contract or not. Lassiter essentially would be like that as well. So I see either one of two things is either going to happen in this offseason. We're going to see a lot of change, or we're going to see a lot of players that get re-upped. I suspect we see a lot of changes is my guess, but I think Lassiter is one of those players that they'll want to keep if they can. So.
Oh yeah, I agree, man. I mean, obviously we all know that the end of this season, there's going to be a lot of changes. There's going to be a lot of contracts that are up. And, obviously from the look of the players that we've seen on those contracts that are going to end this year, I mean, from my standpoint, obviously they can change my opinion with their play of this season. But it looks like maybe just one or two, maybe possibly three would stay on the team. But obviously we're going to see how this season goes. And if they play well, they deserve their contract next year, if they get brought back, but if they don't play well, then, they get cut, and, we start from anew, and we have all these youth players that we brought in, and hopefully they step up, and then next season we'll see where we go. But Lassiter is one of those that I think, even though we got him on a loan, even if he does wonderful, and we have to pay a little bit of a premium price for him because he did really well, who cares? He's proven. He's calm. He knows his style over here. And then you got to pay for players who can perform. And we need to stop being that team where we're like, oh man, but if he performs, we're gonna have to pay the premium price. It's okay, man. If you're paying for players who can produce what you need them to produce and whatever position they're playing, that's fine, man. You pay the price. That's the whole reason of selling and buying and trading and all that good stuff. Because if you're gonna buy cheap players and hope to keep buying low risk and have high reward, a lot of times that low risk is gonna stay low risk and have no reward at the end of it. So you gotta sometimes pay to play.
I'm getting called out for the beard in a positive way. Well, thanks, guys. I'm gonna blush. See how the red? I'm blushing. No, I again, it provides versatility. It provides options. One of the things George brought up as well is Lassiter is also 2-footed. He's not 1-footed like certain players on our team currently in the same position that he plays. And so having a 2-footed player means that no matter which side you put him on, he's going to be able to perform, and that's definitely what we need. Definitely, because we like to change things up on the wings occasionally, and we like to swap wings. And if you swap the wing and the player's capable of playing either way, then that's a lot easier to do during the match. But as for that,
and it's not.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say
it's not just that.
Go ahead, Mark. It's all you, buddy.
Just talking about him being able to play on both feet. Obviously, I know a couple of y'all have watched the Champions League throughout these last couple of days, and obviously one of the greatest strikers of now is Luis Suarez, and the goal that he scored. You saw how he juked from his right to his left and was able to fake the goalie and go back to his right and then make that goal, man. When you have a player who's not scared to shoot from his left, especially being a right-footed player and can put power behind that shot, it's a huge advantage. Huge advantage.
mentioned, one of the greatest strikers, and I was like, "Oh, you're talking about Lewandowski," and then you went a completely
No, no,
different
no,
direction.
no. Lewandowski hasn't scored a goal like that. He's only scored headers right now. But it's just one of those
What
things when
Lewandowski? You've been watching, bro.
I'm talking about the games previous. Like today, he scored a header against Leon. But I'm talking about just that goal in specific because you're talking about going from left to right, being good on both feet. And that goal that Suarez against Bayern just reminded me of that because it was just a really good goal because it was a solo effort from his part because he's able to go from left to right. And when you have that ability and you're not scared to use your weak foot, you're able to do so much more and create so much more opportunities for yourself as far as a forward to shoot and score.
Absolutely, 100% yes, and that was basically the point I was making. Then the other thing I wanted to bring up too is, there's some questions about the contract, that the option to buy part of that contract. I can tell you that there are escalations in that contract if he performs well. As far as how much we're talking, I have no clue on the numbers, but I do know there are escalations if he performs well. But again, you have to be okay with that because the player, very well may come in here and light it up, and if he does, that's positive for you, and you have to take it and run with it. What's up, Terrell?
Yeah, man. So like I just stated earlier, you can't be scared of him being great here at MLS because you're afraid that the price is going to go too high. Man, that's what it is. You're looking for players to bring the quality of the team up another level. We need to up the level of play for the whole squad. That level of play needs to be raised up so that way we can go from being bottom feeders to being a playoff team and being a playoff contender, hopefully up to being an MLS Cup contender. And once you get to those levels, your player salaries are going to be higher, man. That's just how it goes in the world of soccer, in any sport. You're going to have your bargains. Yeah, you're going to have your bargains here and there, but for the most part, if you're a team of quality, you're going to have players being paid, what they're worth, or if not more.
100% agreed. 100% agreed.
So obviously, we focus a lot on the offensive side of the ball, and with reason, because obviously that's our quote unquote best side of the ball. Obviously, there was another signing. We talked about him a little bit earlier when we opened the show with the poll of the day. Wilfred Zahibo, which obviously comes from New England Revolution in a trade where we lost the legend Tommy Mack. I know Callow is sad with that transaction, but it's okay. We'll make do, especially if he comes here and is the defender and is the brick wall that we need alongside with Vera. But before he came to MLS, he was playing in La Liga with Valencia, a couple of appearances, but mainly he spent his time in La Liga 1-2-3, which is the second tier division in Spain with Valencia B, doing really well over there. Well over 60-70 matches with that team. So obviously he brings a little bit of that European flavor to the team, which we're always looking forward to. I'm not against Euros coming to Dynamo, especially if they do really well. But I know you said a little bit earlier in the show, Sean, how you felt about Zahibo, but do you care to go a little bit more into a little bit more details about him?
Glad you asked. Yes, actually, I would. So one of the things that is kind of that quiet thing that isn't spoken about a lot is in 2018, Zahibo was actually an all-star at the D-mid position, center mid position in MLS, which is really pretty impressive considering 2018, the number of pretty good defensive center mids in the league was pretty good. There's a good number of them. I know Sebastian Blanco was in the league at that time, and look at how he's been playing during MLS's back tournament. You had at that time, I could see him, but I can't think of his name. Guzman was in the league at that time, playing D mid, and you had other players that were playing D mid at that time as well. And it's just a different, it's a different player than we're used to trading for. Ozzy Alonso, although he really was starting to fall off, I think, by 2018. He's really downhill since then, since Seattle. But yeah, I suppose, I mean, that was kind of his last one. There are so many, like I said, there's a lot of good D mids in the league, and Zahibo is one of those quiet ones that just, you hear the name and you're kind of like, who? But then when you start researching, you're like, wow, this guy's actually really talented, and he kind of flies under the radar. He's not one of those talked about guys, but he's one of those guys that, frankly, to me, it's going to be strong enough that he could be a real difference maker for this team on the pitch. And I think that this is a signal that Tab has absolutely seen and become frustrated at the lack of defensive effort in certain areas of the pitch. I think this is a signal to not just the players, but to fans that, hey, we're taking this seriously. We do want to do well, and we want to perform on the pitch and those sorts of things.
Yeah, man, and obviously, he's built. I mean, he's like 6'2", I think 205, something like that. I mean, so he's built like a brick wall. So I mean, he has that those characteristics of a defensive mid that you want. Somebody who's not going to be a pushover. Obviously Matias Vera, he's done really well here, but he's a little bit on the shorter side. But he's also really well. So it's kind of a great pairing to have his Matias Vera with Zahibo. And hopefully it does really well, man. Hopefully it's a good partnership, and it's a partnership that lasts for a couple of seasons with us. Like I said earlier on, obviously we had to give up a little bit for him. I think it was like 175 in GAM, and obviously the legend T-Mac, Tommy McNamara. McNamara, whatever.
McNamara. There you
go. So I mean, got to give a little to give a little to get a little. So, and I think this is one of those transactions where I think we're going to come on top, man. I'm looking really forward to seeing him play. Obviously, he was an all-star. I think even 2018 he was an all-star. So that's always a good.
I just talked about, yeah.
That was a positive for him as his first season in the league. But we'll see how it goes.
Absolutely, and again, it's a player at a position along the spine of the team that has been needed, tremendously needed. I mean, you see it in how, especially a player who can play a full 90 minutes. That's the thing. Now, what I don't know about Zahibo, I know this about Lassiter. Lassiter's not a vocal player. He's not going to be a team leader on the pitch. What I don't know about Zahibo is he that kind of player on the pitch that he can be a team leader? And I think we'll find out. I think he'll be given an opportunity. There's nobody else on the pitch that can really step into that role besides him at this point. Now, one of the things I want to throw out there, and this is more setting up in the event that Tab decides to switch gears on us a little bit, is this move may actually signal something else that we haven't talked about yet, which is that Boney may be retiring at the end of the season, or if he's not retiring, he may return to his Honduran Olympia or something of that nature, or may even get traded away. I just think that there's going to be a point at which we've talked about it. You can't hold onto these older aging players until they're done, simply because they were in your system for forever. You have to be a team that looks at the situation and says, look, this player has obviously lost a step, and it's affecting and impacting the team. And the fact that Boney had to start every match in MLS's back tells me that we didn't have a player to replace him with. And Zahibo is one of those players that is going to be able to basically push Boney to the bench. That's my hope anyways. And look, Boney has offensive capability. He can integrate with the attack. But the one thing that Boney doesn't do as a center mid is he doesn't really track back as well as other center mids or D mids would do. So, I could see what we ultimately see is Zahibo as kind of that true D mid right in front of the back line, ultimately shifting into a 3-back setup where you have Struna and then whomever the other center back is, probably going to be Minor, and then right in front of them you have Zahibo. Out wide, you have your Lundqvist and your either Bisama or Valentin, and they push up the pitch. So you have more of a 3-back setup with Vera and the rest of the team, in front of that. The reason I'm saying that is because what you have when you do that is you create a system where you are immediately counter pressing. As soon as the other team wins the ball, you are immediately countering and you are pressing, and you're immediately getting that ball back. Your goal is to win that ball. The only drawback to that system is you can't play that for a full 90 and expect your players to be able to handle it. That is extremely taxing to have that level of commitment to do it. But yeah, I mean, it is time for Boney to go. I mean, it really is. Look, I like Boney as a person, and I think even as a player, at times he shows. But you can show half the time and not show half the time, and again, at some point, he's just gonna have to accept that it's time to move on. And he's shown that he's lost a step. Yes, he's adapted, but he can't play forever. It's Brad Davis all over again. Either he's going to go to another team and play for a year or two, and not do anything really for them either, or he's just going to retire and do something else for the Dynamo, and I'm perfectly okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we all have a great respect for Boniek and what he's done, in his.
Bye, Mark. We all have a great respect for Boney and what he's done for the team. I have no idea where he was going with that. So, good. He's coming back.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys.
You're good. So you were saying you have a great respect for Boney and what he's done for the team, and
yeah. So I mean, basically, it's one of those things where he's already up to the age where he should be coming to an end, and whether or not that's with the Dynamo or if he goes back for one last hurrah with Olympia and Honduras. Obviously, that's a decision that's going to be between him and his wife and his family. But I mean, I could very easily see him, join the academy and be a player and be a influential figure for those up and coming Latino players and Hispanic players in the academy as someone to look up to and what he's done in his career. Because obviously, he's a national team player who's played in the World Cup, and he's a Dynamo legend. So I mean, it would be real nice to see him obviously be a mentor to those young kids coming up, in the academy, the way Ricardo Clark is doing right now.
Absolutely. And again, Boney provides, if he does retire or he becomes a player coach, whatever he opts to do, he still provides leadership in some way, shape, or form. It's just not it's a player who should, at his age, be able to be a vocal leader on the pitch and be that guy that, pushes other players to be better and to track back on certain plays, whatever. And I just feel like, unfortunately, I feel like Boney has this thing where he wants to be friends with everybody, as opposed to, being that kind of hard ass on the pitch that's saying, no, you are not putting in the effort that's expected to be a Dynamo player. But we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see.
Sergio says Davis did score some bangers for SKC. I mean, some being like 2.
Yeah, he scored 2
yes, he had a
goals.
couple of good goals, but that was also a 30-something match season, so you got to compare what we gained ultimately with Davis leaving, which was we did ultimately gain some better attack options, just because Davis's age was starting to. What was that?
Plus, he was going closer to home. He
was, and now he's working with the St. Louis franchise, trying to get them up and running in MLS. So we'll see how that goes too.
Yeah,
it should be interesting.
Yeah, so obviously it's a family decision that they make. These players. I mean, obviously we all want to see our favorite players, retire in orange and all that good stuff. But like I always tell everybody, when these players get old and they're a little bit over the hill, for those who follow Houston sports, Hakeem Olajuwon was a Toronto Raptor. We forget about that, So
forget it. Trust me, I remember it.
Yeah, and it's an unfortunate thing, but I mean, legends, they want to keep going as long as they can, and who can blame them? I mean, that money they make, and that lifestyle they live. I mean, it's a great living. So, but yeah, I'm sure Boniek will stick around somehow with the Dynamo. If he doesn't go back for like a year or two back to Honduras to do whatever a farewell tour over there, but it's all good.
Next topic.
Oh, so Sean, so obviously we got a couple matches coming up. The third start of MLS season is coming up, and we get to start off with our favorite foes, man. FC Frisco. Obviously they played 2 games ahead and home and away with Nashville SC, because obviously those 2 teams missed the MLS's back tournament due to their coronavirus affecting their teams. Obviously, they didn't show out too well. I mean, obviously the first game they lost at home against Nashville 1-0. They went back to Nashville and got a tie, got a point. What do you think it's looking like for the Dynamo that first game back against FC Dallas, especially now that FC Dallas has 2 games under their belt and kind of had gotten a little bit of a restart, head start with this restart?
I'm not overly worried about it, to be totally honest with you. I think this is a match the Dynamo can absolutely go out and win, and here's why. Number one, this is not the same FC Dallas. They've looked marginally worse than they did before they started MLS is back, and MLS it was back was, as you've noted, that them being forced out, missing so many players, it was honestly music to my ears. So I don't fear FC Dallas like I might have last season. This is a different team. They're not showing very well. They're playing pretty poor. Nashville was not a great team. They're not a great team. They're a decent team, not a great team. But this is just not a team that from Frisco's standpoint, this is not the traditional FC Frisco. And then the other thing to keep in mind is with everything that took place in their first match back against Nashville, that first match when the players were booed and Reggie Cannon came out after the match and talked about that. The reason why that's a really big deal is now you have players who, from a mental standpoint, why are they going to give everything for fans that don't really support them in what they believe and what they want to do? So, and there are talks that Reggie Cannon has offers on the table to leave Dallas right now. And that to me is big because he's one of their better players. And so, if I'm Reggie Cannon and I know I've got offers and an opportunity to book it out of there, I'm going to do it. And no, that's not going to happen before we face them on Friday. But I think what does happen is that plays into that mentality game. That plays into his mental position on that squad. Yes, there's other players that can beat us, but they don't worry me like they would have in the past. They don't concern me. I think everything that's transpired with that team just points to, a team this is kind of their non-year, if you will. They have it every 3 to 4 seasons where they just have a dip in form and they're not able to recover. I think this is that season for them. That I have a flashy mic. It does flash. Yeah, I got an LED mic, which, by the way, these are awesome mics. If you're looking for a mic, it's a HyperX Quadcaster. Highly recommend HyperX Quadcaster. You want it. It's a squad that what they're trotting out has talent, but no continuity between teammates, if you will. I don't see a good flow to the way that they're playing right now. Defensively, they are poor. I see opportunities. And on the flip side, from the Dynamo perspective, yes, we conceded goals in MLS's back, but on the to kind of counter that point, we also played really well for good periods of time. I'm gonna double up on what Nestor's saying. HyperX, if you're looking for a sponsorship opportunity, Generation Orange is definitely amenable to this. I would even wear a HyperX headset. I'm just saying. It's the Dynamo players have more continuity than FC Frisco. And here's the thing. The Dynamo don't have great continuity, but they have enough. Whereas Frisco just have none right now. There's no unity, in my opinion, to that team. You watch them play, and it just feels like individuals on that pitch, whereas at least with the Dynamo, your attack is kind of connected. Your defense is kind of connected. Your midfield maybe not nearly as much between the two, but at least you have two portions that are connected, whereas with Frisco, it just felt like, everybody was just kind of throwing the ball around hoping that somebody would get on the end of it, and nobody could. To me, that is the hallmark of a team that is on a downward slope. And, for all the hype that they had coming into the season, it sure looks like they're not gonna be able to hold up to that hype.
Oh yeah, and I gotta agree with you as far as the whole thing that happened with obviously with the national anthem and the fans booing them and all that good stuff. I mean, look, you understand that everybody has their freedom of speech and their freedom to choose whatever side they want to be on, and that's great, But if somebody's trying to show some show of unity towards something that's going on, and we all can agree something's going on really bad in this country, as far as with the Black Lives Movement going on and all the police brutality, it's nothing to do than just keep your mouth shut and just just look on, man. You don't have to boom, you don't have to throw stuff on the pitch, you don't have to do none of that stuff, man. That stuff right there is just showing more division between us as a country. Obviously, as a player, that just shows you, man, that, like, man, how can you go out there and fight for the crest and fight for the town that you're in, when you have your fans just, bashing you like that. And yeah, it's a small amount of people that did it. I mean, but still, it can be heard. That little bit of negativity can be heard. When especially in an empty stadium like that, like it usually is. Even though they have that restriction that they have, but still, it looked like it does every time on the regular season game. So, but the thing with Cannon, I think it's a great thing for him that that he's one of those level players where he is probably more than likely going to be transferred out this transfer window. There's with reports of a couple of English clubs looking to pick him up or whatever, and obviously he doesn't want to be there. You can tell with the statement that he made and all this stuff and the way he felt after what had transpired on the pitch that first game, that he was just not feeling it at all. And I'm sure he's not the only one that feels that way. He just happens to be the captain and leader of that squad. So we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, I don't think they're together as a unit yet. Nashville SC isn't really that strong of a club. I mean, obviously, it's only their third and fourth game that they played. But, I mean, they've been able to hold teams, to 0 goals for, I think, the last 280-some plus minutes or something like that. So that's a good feat for them to start off with as far as an expansion team goes about. But, yeah, man, I would be really surprised if the Dynamo don't come out with a win for that first game, and really just go out there and just put it to them. I mean, it is a derby. We forget that it is a derby. And derbies are meant to be won, not just played. Like, just to quote what Quintero said earlier in a statement that he put out on Twitter, derbies are meant to be won, not just played. So, and until Austin shows up, this is our main, rival, But we'll see, man. We'll see. I'm expecting a win. I'm not expecting anything less. It would be a shame if they do draw or lose to them. That would just kind of put them behind the A ball even more, I think. That's just my opinion on it.
So, the Dynamo on Facebook, they offered opportunities for fans to type up a little message to basically have it posted to the in the locker room on Friday night. And I took the opportunity to write a message, and I wanted to read it for you guys because I want you guys to be as hype as I am. Hold it down is not just a cool, hyped-up slogan. It is a statement of intent. BBVA is our house, and it is your fortress to defend. You do not march into BBVA as 11 or even 23 men. You march in as thousands, because Hustletown and all fans are behind you. Do this for Houston. # hold it down.
There you go, Sean. That was nicely put.
Hey, look, I had to fit it in tweet format, too. I haven't tweeted it yet, but it's going to get tweeted on Friday morning, you better believe, and maybe part of Thursday as well. But yeah, no, I mean, there were a lot of messages on there, all of them really being, pretty well positive and stuff like that. But I think there's just, again, there's a difference, right? And they're getting an opportunity to play in their home stadium to start MLS is back, which I think is a dumb name. MLS is back, restart, whatever. But, it's getting to play in your home stadium to start is great. Playing a team that is coming off a 2-match span where they struggled tremendously. Did I translate it? No. No, I don't have the capability to translate that into proper MLS returns. Yeah, exactly. Returns. MLS returns to take refunds and exchanges, I hear, at the customer service booth. But no, seriously though, you're getting a chance to come in your first match back, play a team that's struggling right now. You've been struggling a little bit too as well, yes, but you also have the attack that is capable of taking it to the team. You have players that they're fresh, but they've got enough time in the last 4 weeks that they're not completely, they're not completely devoid of playing time, so they have that match fitness. You even played a scrimmage a couple of days ago, so your players are ready for this, physically and mentally. And then obviously with Quintero's statement, that's a guy that wants to be a team leader. That's a guy that clearly is trying to say, to the rest of the team, if I'm putting this out here, and Quintero's that player that has earned that respect from what he does on the pitch in other places. But Quintero, to say that on social media, he is telling his teammates, I'm putting this out on social media, which means we are living to this. I am holding us accountable to this level of, this being a derby and what that means. And I respect the hell out of that. And if he can come in and be that player that can be that team leader and say, put it on my back, or, you're not performing well enough, we need to, you need to figure it out, and we got to deal with it, whatever it is. If he can be that player that we've wanted to be that team leader, then look out, this team can go serious places.
All right, Sean. So we're gonna go with our predictions and bold statement for that match, man. What's your prediction for the FC Dallas and bold statement for it, man?
I'm gonna go with 2 points. One, Lassiter and Zahibo will not be available yet. Zahibo has to go through quarantine protocols, and Lassiter has he can be at practice, but he's not going to get to play right away. So with that being said, no Lassiter, no Zahibo, but at least having them in practice. 5-0 sweep, says George. Oh my, I'm not quite going that bold. Is this bold prediction or real prediction? I didn't ask you that yet.
Real prediction and go bold.
Okay, so real prediction, I'm gonna go 2-1 Dynamo. I think they go the full 85 and then give up a kind of last minute goal type thing. And I don't think it's one of those goals where it's a counter goal. I think it's more of a set piece goal and it's just a really good play by FC Dallas. Probably Michael Barrios, because that kid is amazing. And then my bold prediction is that we see at least one FC Dallas player leave the pitch with a red card. And it'll be a VAR red card, because it has to be VAR, because the ref's not going to call it on the pitch.
Yeah. I don't know if that's really that bold. It's a derby, we should expect red cards from derbies, But my prediction...
Okay, wait. I'll go bolder. I was thinking about this anyways. Multiple FC Dallas players get red carded in this match.
Down to 9 men.
That's Houston will probably be down to 10 by the end of the match, but that's okay. If they're down to 9 and we're at 10, that's still one extra man. I'm good with that.
Yeah. So my prediction, I think I'm gonna go a little bit higher. I think it's gonna be a 3-1 win for the Dynamo. I think Mauro finds his scoring boot again, and he scores a brace. With the other goal coming from, let's go with Memo. I think Memo's out there doing. He's always there hustling and always looking to score. So let's give that third goal to Memo. My bold statement. What would be my bold statement?
You're thinking about that.
I got you.
Go ahead.
Mari has one of the assists.
Oh, damn. That's really bold. Wow. I'm impressed. Neuer almost had him one a couple matches ago. So real quick, Ray, to answer your question, I actually got this at Lids here in Houston. And I love this hat. I was really surprised that they had this particular hat at Lids at the time. It was not cheap, but boy, it has been worth it. It is a comfortable hat and very, very looks, obviously, as you noted, it looks nice. It is a sweet hat. So let's talk some predictions that we got here from the listeners. We got 5-0, as I said, from George, and he says he stands by his statement, which all props to you, my brother. And then Ray says Nico Lemoine off the bench to score the game winner 1-0 over Frisco. Oh my! That is not only is that bold, because he does not have a goal for the Dynamo yet, but this is
that would be a confidence booster for that young kid.
That would be quite something, and I would be I don't know if I want it to go to that point where we have to have a game winner 1-0. I would much rather be up a couple of goals, but I digress. I would at least take it, if we're in that position to be 0-0 with how much ever time is left on the clock, and he scores a goal, then hey, I'm down for that. Let's go. He's definitely coming off the bench. I don't see him starting this match. Go ahead, George.
Obviously, I don't think Nico starts off the bench. I think he starts off the bench. Obviously, he started last game because of the elite suspension. No, it was Hansen who started. The other Nico,
Hansen. Nico Hansen.
But yeah, no, man, that would be a great confidence booster for the young kid. Obviously, if he comes in and scores a goal, that would be nice to see one of the young kids score a goal, or even see the first couple of minutes for Palomino as well on the pitch. Obviously he's been dealing with injury, the first go round, and then the MLS's back tour, he wasn't up to fitness shape, I think, or he was still dealing with injury. I don't know what the deal was with that, but there is another game before we come back next Wednesday, and that's against another one of our rivals in Sporting Kansas City. And obviously, the last time we saw those guys, and this is going to be at their place, it wasn't a good look for us out there last time we went out to Kansas City. It was a 4-0 thrashing, and we looked nothing like a team during that game, man. Do you see a repeat of that happening? And if you do, what does that say about maybe Tad, trying to change his game plan, But if you don't, and you see a more of a positive outlook, what do you see happening out there in Kansas City?
I think it depends on two things. All right, it depends on one thing specifically. It depends on whether Zahibo is quarantined, how long his quarantine has to be. Because he is a player who I believe could start right out of the gate. He's not a player that you have to take time to acclimate. A D-mid player is not a player that needs a lot of time. That's just, he needs that communication, and you know what? He's the type of player that he's going to force that communication. So, if Zahibo can be ready in that quick a time in terms of the quarantine, however long MLS mandates the quarantine has to be, if he can get in a practice on over the weekend with the boys, Sunday would probably be practice day. Then if Zahibo starts that match, then I would say there is zero chance we see a 4-0 drubbing by KC. Now, with that, flipping that script real quick, if he doesn't start that match, I still don't think a 4-0 drubbing is in the works, but I do have to have some concerns. However, here's the difference. They had a crowd behind them in that match. They don't have the crowd anymore to push them forward. That is a big difference maker. And I think that sets up nicely for the Dynamo to, if the Dynamo can find a way to get on the front foot early, that will put SKC on their heels early. And without the crowd, that is a completely different situation. And the Dynamo had chances in that match early. They just could not land them in the goal. If they do it and they can find the goal early in that match, I think we leave that match with a win.
See, I'm not gonna go as far as saying we're gonna get a win out in Kansas City, because Kansas City is a good team, and obviously they did really well in the tournament. And for as much as I don't really like the player Polito, he's been worth all the money that he's been paid for.
That's one of the few. He's one of the few strikers that when they paid the money for him, I was like, I don't know. But as soon as he started playing, you knew without a doubt this player was worth every penny they paid and a whole lot more.
So I mean, credit to him that he came in here and obviously he's delivering on what he's been paid. So I mean, I think he's scored an assist in the last six games that they've played in, which is a good streak to have, obviously, as their DP player. I do agree with you, Sean, that the Dynamo do need to start fast, and they do need to score first. And obviously if they do have chances, to capitalize on those chances and not miss the goals, because as we can see, the more chances you miss, the more opportunity you give the team to counterattack and score on the other end as quickly as possible. And that happens every time in any soccer game that you see around the world. You miss chances, boom, the other team turns it around on you and scores on the other end. And we don't want that to happen, obviously. But I'm not going to go as far as you and say that the Dynamo can come out with a win if they score first. I'm hoping for a tie with them, because obviously SKC, regardless of the crowd or not, they will be at home, and they'll sleep on their beds. They'll have slept on their beds and all that stuff. And I think it's a back-to-back home games for them to start off. So I mean, that is a little bit of an opportunity, a little bit of using the word here, whatever. But I think that they can come out with a tie, 1-1 tie, that'd be great, or even a 0-0 tie would be great. But unfortunately for me, I'm gonna say they're gonna come out with a loss. Is my prediction with them over there. Hopefully, I'm really, really hoping it's not a 4-0 thrashing. I think I'm on the same lines with you, where I think as the Zahibo plays, obviously it'll create a little bit of motivation because he's going to be the new player in there. He's going to want to show his quality. He's going to want to show that that they brought him in for a reason and that he can shore up that defense. But I'm gonna have to go maybe 2-1 KC on this one.
Here's the other thing that we didn't bring up, and is when we're talking the SKC match, you have to remember the Dynamo are going to go into that match with a chip on their shoulders now, and so a chip on your shoulders. You have players that know they didn't play their best in that match. They're going to come out and they're going to play hard. They're going to play strong, and they're going to play fast. And they're going to have the advantage of having played just a few days before on a good amount of rest prior to that. So I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that the players are going to be ready. And I do, like I said, if the team can start out fast, I have no problem predicting this as a 3-1 win by the Dynamo. I do think they give up a goal, kind of the same thing. They give it up late, which it is what it is. But I think the difference is if they can hit those shots early and put SKC on the back foot, I don't see SKC coming back from that because the Dynamo can start to sit back a little bit more. In that match, they had to start pressing higher and higher, and that opened up more opportunities. And then again, if Zahibo can start, that's a player that can help deal with Polito's advancing into the defense.
Yeah, I mean, obviously another thing to point out was then that first match at least wasn't playing as well. So I mean, maybe there's another benefit for us as well. So maybe with Elise in there as well, it'll give us a little bit of a boost because obviously he brings a lot of speed on the edges and the wide game and all that good stuff. So we'll see, man. Like I said, don't think there's gonna be another 4-0 thrashing.
Yeah, so Kala just brought this up in a separate chat. He said there is a mandatory 10-day quarantine for players changing markets.
Yeah.
So Zahibo will not be available for that match. However, I will note we do play KC here at home on September 5th, which is a Saturday. Speaking of September matches, there's a match on Wednesday, September 2nd. So Mark and I were talking, and we're aiming to do a pre-match show before that match from 6 to 7 p.m. Wednesday, September 2nd. And so our expectation is that since you're going to be tuning in for that match, whether you're at home or somewhere else, is that you pull out your phone or turn on your computer or whatever it is, and you pull us up on YouTube and you go ahead and stream the show, because we're going to talk SKC. We're going to talk about the FC Dallas match before, and we'll start talking about a Mini and what we think about Mini going into that match, and we'll have a couple of matches to see Mini before that. So there'll be some good conversation to have, and then guys, just like you have been tonight, I hope you guys are just as engaged during that show as you have been tonight for sure.
It'll be another Dylan Walper derby. Obviously we have a few former Minnesota United players on our squad now that maybe want to feast on their old team, and obviously Minnesota United had a good showing in the MLS is Back tournament, so I mean they're going to be on a high as well. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, but going back to the SKC match, it's going to be it's a lot of things, a lot of variables in there, man. Hopefully, and like I said, I think the last thing is as a fan base we want to see is another 4-0 thrashing, obviously, and hopefully this is just a good showing, like a really good showing to where we progressed a whole lot from that game, because if it does turn out to be another one of those matches, it's gonna kind of set us back a little bit, even though I don't want to say one match can really set back the fan base, but it is a rivalry with SKC. It is one of those teams that we do have some history with them back and forth from back in the days, and yeah, man, we'll see what happens.
I am excited to at least have two matches against SKC, because I do believe these players have a chip on their shoulder, and it would be great to have a win under our belt in the second match of the season in KC, and then come back and have one match against Mini and then a match against KC right after that, knowing full well that the players at that point would have the belief that they would be able to go out there and beat KC after what they had to deal with early in the season. The other difference is we also have players that didn't play in that match that are available off the bench as well. So definitely a different look to the team, especially at that point. So.
It's a pride thing. I mean, as a player and as a competitor, you don't want to go down to the same opponent the way he went down the last time. It's just about pride. And obviously, Tab Ramos and his staff are doing everything they can to make sure that they have the players in place to bring positive results to the team, and positive results on the pitch. And I think that they're doing everything they can. It's just now on the hands and feet of the players to go out there and execute their game plan. And like I said, not miss those opportunities on goal. Those shots on goal, don't miss them. Make sure that they're taking every opportunity and taking full effect of every opportunity that comes in, as far as inside the box and outside the box as well, and taking advantage of whatever the defense gives them and scoring those goals, man. And just putting the ball behind the net, can go a long way to helping the confidence of the whole team and erasing that 4-0 defeat that you had last time in their hands.
Yeah, Ken, to kind of bounce off your point real quick, just for a quick second, I will say, as much as I would like to see him play a different midfield, I think the concern there is that who do you play? We don't exactly have a lot of depth at center mid or at midfield in general, and the Dynamo haven't brought in, even if they bring in other players, it doesn't matter because there's still a mandatory 10-day quarantine. So regardless, there's no change that's going to happen between now and then as far as the actual center of the midfield. Now, with that being said, maybe Boney doesn't start, and instead you start somebody else in that center mid position. I don't know who. Looking at the Palomino could be a player that you could start there at center mid. Perhaps it depends on how Tab feels about him right now and whether he's ready.
What are you playing though?
What would you say?
I mean, what? Okay, let's get into this. Like, if you're Tab Ramos for Friday's game on FC Dallas, what's your starting lineup?
So starting lineup for Dallas, I think it's going to definitely have to be. Let's start with the obviously goalkeeper's marriage. I don't think there's any question there. Defensively, I'm going to go with Lundqvist on the left. I'm going to go with Struna and Minor in the middle, because Minor playing his old team, you got to give him a chance to get that long range bomb we've all been waiting for. And then of course you have Valentin on the right. I don't think that back four is not going to change with the players that we have currently available. Now, with that said, I could see an opportunity if Tab feels comfortable enough with Cabrera. I could see where he maybe rests Minor, although I think Minor has to be chomping at the bit for that match. So in SKC, I can see him putting in Cabrera for Minor, and then for FC Dallas, I think he's going to play Minor. So those are my back four. And then midfield, I think you have Vera at the DM. I think your C mids, if it's me, I'm going Palomino and Memo. I think that just makes the most sense. And then what I'm going to do is above Palomino and Memo, you have Quintero out on one wing, you have Elise on the other wing, and then you have Morrow up top. And the idea is that Quintero and Memo are going to switch positions consistently, and Memo can also switch positions with Elise if Elise wants to push in. I think Memo as a center mid there actually makes a lot of sense, and he's a player that can rotate out to the wing, and that allows Quintero to have opportunities in the center of the pitch, and frankly, it's going to put a lot of pressure on FCD right out of the gate.
Wait, so your midfield is Quintero, Palomino, and Memo?
Vera at the back, okay. And then Memo and Palomino above him, kind of in the true center mid positions, if you will.
So you're going a 4-1-3-1?
Yes. No, 4-1-4-1 more or less, because I'm playing. You have your four backs, and then right above that you have Vera. And then above Vera, you have your two mids, and then your two wingers, and then you have Morrow up top. So 4-1-4-1.
Okay. So I think as far as obviously the goalkeeper is Merrick. As far as the back four, I think I have to agree with you with the Minor going against his old team. Otherwise, if this was flipped around and we were playing Kansas City, I think it would be Cabrera. I think he's earned that trust from him during the tournament. And obviously, like I said, you brought in Cabrera, a veteran MLS player who's a lot younger, and you traded an asset in Kyoto. So, I mean, you have to have valued him to some point where you're going to have to use him, obviously. But obviously, this being against a former team, I think Mino gets to start over Cabrera. Vera obviously ahead of him, ahead of the four. I have to keep Memo at the 8 spot, man, because, the way he just turned out, and especially in that LAFC game, I mean, I think it gives you that extra spark where he's not afraid to go up. Obviously, he's not afraid to go join an attack, but he's also not afraid to join in on the defense. And that helps out and gives a lot of pressure off a player like Lundqvist. Because Lundqvist obviously he moves up forward as well. So I think Memo at the 8, and then your other midfielder would be obviously Quintero. I'm sorry, not Quintero. Palomino. I think Palomino's. Yeah, I do have to agree that I think this is the perfect spot to go and play Palomino if he's ready and healthy and ready to go. I think this would be the perfect game for him to get started and to play. And obviously, your 10 would be Quintero, and your left wing would be Quintero, and then start your 9 Maudo and your right wing Elise. But yeah, man, I do agree with your alignment. And if it's not Palomino for whatever reason, if he's still injured or whatever, I think I see them probably playing Boney in that position, but I don't think I would want to see Boney. I would put Nico, the younger Nico Limon, and maybe see how he plays off the midfield, right behind Elise. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh, Nico's not a defender, buddy. Oh boy.
But he wouldn't be a defender. He wouldn't be the other defender behind next to Vera. You would change your formation and just have the one defensive mid, and then have the two attacking right behind the.
Let me rephrase. He's not a central player. He's more of a wing player. That was what I meant. Sorry.
He would play on the right.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So with that being said, guys, if you are watching right now, and there are a few of you that I know this is not necessarily your first time watching, but it is your first time in a while, do us a favor if you haven't already. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, like the stream, share the stream. Make sure you give us a shout out on Twitter, and we'll shout you out as well. We just want to make sure that we are building up as much of a kind of watcher base as we can, especially subscribers, because we are aiming for getting 100 subscribers so that we can have our YouTube show have its own little URL, which would be fantastic, its own little custom URL instead of a random string of letters, and that's just hard to remember. So if you could do us a favor and do that, that would be great. We do greatly appreciate it. What else you got for me? Anything else?
I don't think as far as anything else I don't have anything else to go off in it, man. Unless you want to talk about, what's going on in MLS. But aside from the Dynamo, obviously we have those 2 matches coming up, and hopefully we get positive results out of those 2, especially the first one. The first one is a derby, and it is at home, and it is against a team that's not really coming off good performances. So, I'm hoping that we do show out in that first match, and then hopefully we don't drop the ball in Kansas City. That's what I'm hoping for the next time when we get on next Wednesday.
We will, we'll have a chance to find out sooner rather than later. Less than a week to go, guys. Hope you guys have a great weekend and a great rest of your week, and hope that we get to talk some really good wins on next Wednesday.
Go Dynamo.
Let's go Dynamo.